In today's video, I will show you how to create these 3D line animations using the Spline Wrap tool in Cinema 4D. Let's begin. To start, we need to create a spline path. The reason is because we want our lines to maneuver around the path we create. Head over to our Spline tool menu. In here, you can either create your custom spline using the Spline Pen tool, or you can select any of these available presets. For now, I am going to select this circle. You can see our circle spline placed in our workspace. I want to change the position of this circle to be laying down. Head over to the plane section and click in this box. Select XC to have our circle lay flat on the ground. Perfect. Now, if we zoom in closer, you can see that our circle is not smooth. We can see it has some corners. I want the circle to be as smooth as possible. So in the number section, I will increase its value to 100. This has increased the segments of our circle spline, and our circle now has a smooth spline. Perfect. Now I am going to add a 3D object. I'll head over to its menu and drop down its options. For this tutorial, I will select a cylinder. However, you can try any objects you prefer. This looks good. I'm going to change my display settings to view the segments of my model. Yes, this is perfect. Now that we have our cylinder, it's time to add the Spline Wrap deformer. Head over to this menu, drop down its menu, and here we are going to select the Spline Wrap deformer. Once you see the Spline Wrap, you are going to drag it inside the cylinder. You can see that nothing happened. That's because we need to assign a path to our Spline Wrap. Make sure the Spline Wrap is selected, and where it says Spline, that's where we are going to drag our circle spline, or any path that we have created. I will drag my circle spline in here. Now, don't panic if you see this. This is normal. We just have to change some settings. We are going to head over to our Spline Wrap settings, and under Axis, we are going to change it to +Y. This will make our cylinder object follow our circle spline's Y-axis. Now, under Mode, I am going to change it from Fit Spline to Keep Length. What that does is preserves the length of our 3D object. If we were to adjust the offset settings, we can see how the cylinder animates around the circle spline. Now it's time to make the cylinder into a line. For that, I will change its size settings. Inside the Spline Wrap setting, I am going to head over to the size, and I will grab this dot here. I will drag it all the way to the bottom. You can see how the 3D cylinder reacts to the change. I am now going to change this side, so I will select the other dot and drag it to the bottom. But as you can see, that has completely hid my cylinder. No worries, we can fix that by selecting the dots and move the handle around. I will do the same for the other side. You can see how our cylinder now looks like a fat line. If we look closely, we can also see how sharp the angles are. I don't like that. I want the angles to become smooth. To fix that, go and select the cylinder object, and under Height Segments, I am going to increase it to whatever number I feel smoothens out my line. This looks good to me. I now want my line to loop around the circle spline. For that, I will make sure I am on the first frame in my timeline. And I will head over to the offset settings and add a keyframe. Perfect. Now I will make sure I am on the last frame in my timeline. I will drag the offset value to 100 and add another keyframe. Now, when I preview the animation, I can see the line animating around the circle spline. However, it slows down when it reaches the end. I don't want that. I want the line to loop around at a constant speed. To fix that, I am going to need to change some settings to the keyframes. Make sure your spline wrap is selected and head over to the first keyframe. Select it and then head over to its settings. We're going to change the interpolation from spline to linear. I will do the same for the last keyframe. Change it to linear. When I preview the scene, I can see the line does a perfect loop. This looks great. Now I am going to stretch my line. To do that, I will select the cylinder object, and where it says height, I'm going to increase the values to wherever it looks right for me. This looks good. I will also increase the segments. Perfect. I'll preview it one more time. Yep, this looks good. Now I want to duplicate this. First, I'm going to group these together. For that, I will head over to the Create menu and select No. I will name it Group 1. I will now drag both layers into a new group I created. Perfect. Now to duplicate it, I will press and hold the Control key and click and drag with my mouse. I will rename this to Group 2. Now, it will seem that nothing happened, but if I change a few settings, you will see what we have done. I'll head over to Group 2 and select Circle Spline object. I will head over to its plane settings and change it from XZ to XY. We can see the circle spline from Group 2. And if I move back to the first frame in our timeline, you can see the 3D line. Now the animation is still there. If we were to play it now, we will see 3D lines loop around the circle splines. However, I want to change the circle spline to something else for this new group we created. So I will head over to the Spline Pen tool menu, but this time I will select a rectangle, and I will drag the rectangle spline inside Group 2. Now select Group 2 Spline Wrap, and we are going to replace our circle spline with the new rectangle spline we created. Drag the rectangle spline inside the spline section, and we can now delete the circle spline inside of Group 2. You will now see our 3D line wrap around the rectangle spline instead of the circle spline we had originally. And when we preview our animation, you can see it follows the rectangle spline. We can also smoothen out the rectangle if we wanted to. Select the rectangle spline, and under its rounding settings, check the box. Now, when we preview our animation, we can see the rectangle edges are rounder. Let's say I want my line to be thinner for this group. To change that, I will select the Spline Wrap deformer for Group 2 and adjust the size to something thinner. I will also offset the animation so it does not go through the other 3D line. This looks good. Now, when I preview the animation, the 3D lines don't go through each other. Perfect. For the sake of it, I'm going to duplicate this group. I will name it Group 3. Same as before, I will change the plane just to confirm that I duplicated successfully. And this time I will want to use a flower spline. I will drag the flower spline inside group 3 and replace the rectangle spline to my new flower spline, or any custom path I want to use. I will delete the unused square spline and now select the flower spline because I want to make some changes. I want to make the flower smaller, so I will change the outer radius values, and I will also change the inner radius values. I will also want to increase the length of my 3D line. I'll select the cylinder inside group 3 and increase the height value. I will also increase the height segments. Perfect! This looks good. And that's it! You have now learned how to create 3D lines using the Spline Wrap deformer tool in Cinema 4D. If you have found this tutorial useful, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Till the next one!